London is situated in the southeast of England in the Thames Valley. Home to over 8 million people, the capital of the UK has been an important financial, educational and cultural centre for hundreds of years. Of the many gifts England has given to the world, none has been greater than her language and literature. And if ever there's a city that reads like an epic saga, it's London. The story of London began in the Bronze Age, but it didn't really get going until the Romans withdrew in the 5th century. Growing into one of the great medieval trading cities, she truly came of age in the 11th century, when William the Conqueror built the Tower of London, which was to become one of England's grimmest prisons. London is very easy to navigate around and is compact enough to explore on foot. This world city is filled with iconic symbols, and one of the most easily recognisable is Tower Bridge, an impressive reminder of London's rapid expansion during the Industrial Revolution. Just upriver, at the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben's reassuring chimes peal across the city every hour on the hour. Buckingham Palace, perhaps the most famous palace in the world, is the official residence of Queen Elizabeth. It's a popular London attraction, offering tours of staterooms and gardens. Nearby, Kensington Palace is open to the public year-round. The palace and gardens will be remembered as the home of Princess Di and Prince Charles, and have recently undergone a multi-million-pound refurbishment. Another legacy of England's monarchy are the royal parks of London. They were once reserved as private hunting grounds for the royal family, but nowadays they're open for everyone to enjoy. There are 8 royal parks, and many of them are in central London and close to royal palaces and other historic monuments. Green Park and St James Park are right next to Buckingham Palace, Admiralty Arch and the Mall. Hyde Park is perhaps the most famous, with its man-made lake, the Serpentine, and on the other side, Kensington Gardens is a beautiful open expanse that stretches east towards Kensington Palace. The Albert Memorial is at the southern end of Kensington Gardens, and the striking bronze statue looks towards the Royal Albert Hall just across the road. The hall is yet another reminder of Queen Victoria's great love for her husband, Prince Albert. Many of London's greatest stories have begun in her houses of worship, and none is so impressive and important as Westminster Abbey. This is where kings and queens have been crowned, married, and even buried. London was rebuilt after the Great Fire in 1666, and St Paul's Cathedral is the most enduring monument to the city's transformation. It's a great testament to British strength and resilience. The West End in central London is a story in itself. Here, the streets are lined with ancient buildings, but the throngs of people are out to have fun. By day, the charming boutiques and cafes hum with shoppers, and by night, the bars along Carnaby Street are packed with patrons enjoying pre-show drinks. This is one of the largest theatre districts in the world. At times it can feel like you're on a Monopoly board, with Coventry Street, Trafalgar Square and Piccadilly Circus all close by. Moving away from the historic centre, London's trendy suburbs offer a different kind of story. The Portobello Road markets in Notting Hill attract thousands of visitors, especially to the antiques market that's held on Saturdays, while the edgier Camden Town features 6 popular markets that are open every day of the week and operate along her streets, the canal, and in her historic stables. London is a city that honours not only her own story, but also the story of humankind. British Museum is one of the finest in the world, and her treasures cover thousands of years of history and number in the millions. The museum is open every day, and best of all, it's free. From the ancient to the modern, the London Eye offers a complete change of pace and perspective. The massive wheel is over 400 feet high and takes 30 minutes to complete one rotation. From here, you can see the London of old, as well as some of the city's newest additions, all in air-conditioned comfort. London will always be a city that looks towards the past and the future in equal measure. From Rule Britannia to Cool Britannia, the fabric and the skyline of this city is forever turning over a new page. Which is, after all, what every great story should do.
Dublin stands resolutely on Ireland's east coast, at the mouth of the River Liffey. Although it is home to more than a third of the population, Ireland's dynamic capital city retains a lyrical village magic and a playfulness few other cities can match. Despite a long and sometimes tragic history of invasion and resistance, this thriving business capital has poetry, music and literature percolating through its cobblestones. Dublin's ancient streets are compact enough to explore on foot or by bicycle. The River Liffey separates the city into two neat halves. It is crisscrossed with historic bridges, many of which are tributes to Dublin's finest moments and heroes. Dubliner Oscar Wilde once said, "Life is too important to be taken seriously." While Dublin proudly honours its past, it is equally passionate about enjoying each and every new day. Nowhere is life celebrated more than in the city's nearly 700 pubs. Nothing matters more to Dubliners than having a good time, or, as the locals call it, the crack. Pubs and music are at the very heart of Dublin's traditions and society. Just south of the river is the Temple Bar area, where locals and tourists have been meeting for generations. This is the place to find art galleries and colourful shops and immerse yourself in the spirited and often improvised traditional folk music. Irish emigrants have taken their music all around the world, but there is nothing like hearing it played live. Entertainment is also important a little further south on Grafton Street, a lively shopping precinct known for its buskers and proud to be a launchpad for many international musical acts. At the other end of the spectrum and a little further to the east is the architecturally spectacular Aviva Stadium. Time your visit to catch an international superstar here. Any local will tell you that music and a pint glass go hand in hand. The history of Guinness, one of Ireland's most famous institutions, is on display at the Guinness Storehouse. Also known as the Black Stuff, Black Custard and Irish Champagne, this world-famous tipple is said to have been born in the 18th century when water from the Liffey became too polluted to safely drink. The brewing process removed the germs and also provided sorely needed nutrition. Today, the river is cleaner, but Dubliners' thirst for Guinness has remained undiminished. The picturesque Grand Canal was built around this time, connecting Dublin to the west of Ireland, allowing Guinness to be exported, marking the beginning of one of Dublin's great success stories. Visit the Old Jameson Distillery and discover the magic of how 3 simple ingredients are transformed into a smooth whiskey that is enjoyed all over the world. all the gifts Dublin has given to the world, perhaps the most intoxicating are its stories. Originally built for the sons of the Irish gentry, the stone buildings of Trinity College are home to some of the oldest remaining manuscripts in the world, including the 1,000-year-old Book of Kells. This ancient manuscript is only a small part of Dublin's literary history. This city is famous for its authors, playwrights and poets, and tributes are dotted all over the city. Visit the flamboyant statue of Oscar Wilde, decorated with precious stones that reflect his love of beauty. Or pay your respects to James Joyce, one of Dublin's literary giants. There are more tributes to the past just a stroll away in St. Stephen's Green, which holds a special place in the heart of Dubliners. While today it is an oasis of calm in the centre of the city, the park has witnessed many turbulent episodes of Irish history. During the 1916 Easter Rising, a pivotal battle took place here which reignited the long and passionate fight for Irish independence from English rule. The ghosts of Ireland's battle for independence also feel very real at the Kilmainham Jail, in which many of the rebellion leaders were brutally executed. Right at the centre of Dublin's historic heart is Dublin Castle. Originally built on a Viking site, it has been a prison, a fortress and a treasury. From within these stone walls, the English administered Irish rule for more than 700 years. Famously, the Irish crown jewels were stolen from the castle in 1907, and their whereabouts remain a mystery to this day. The National Museum of Ireland Archaeology on Kildare Street showcases other early treasures which illuminate Dublin's history throughout the ages. A little further from the centre of town is Phoenix Park, one of the largest walled parks in Europe. Visit the Wellington Monument, a tribute to the first Duke of Wellington, a Dubliner known as the Iron Duke, who defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. Of all Dublin's heroes, perhaps none are as important as St. Patrick, who is credited with many miracles, including converting Ireland to Christianity. The site of St. Patrick's Cathedral is said to be where he first baptized the pagan chieftains and altered Irish history. The nearby Christ Church Cathedral was founded almost 1,000 years ago and has borne witness to the lives of warriors, kings and saints. Dubliner Jonathan Swift once said, "May you live all the days of your life." There is no better way to define Dublin. Its passion for life is contagious, captivating, and sure to stay with you the rest of your days.
Perched on the east coast of Australia, few cities are as geographically spectacular as Sydney, the capital of the state of New South Wales and home to over 4.5 million people. Surrounded by the rolling Pacific Ocean, two dramatic headlands stand as a timeless gateway to one of the world's most beautiful harbours. Blessed with over 100 beaches, bathed in year-round sunshine and buzzing with a youthful vitality. When it comes to the good life, Sydney is hard to top. Sydney's heart is the harbour. What began as a penal colony in 1788 would within a century be transformed into paradise. From its rough and tumble beginnings in an area known as the Rocks, Sydney soon threw off its convict shackles and blossomed into a gracious city, filled with Victorian architecture and public gardens. New arrivals came by the boatload in search of a new life. The city expanded into gorgeous inner-city suburbs like Paddington, harbour neighbourhoods like Rose Bay, and into beachside communities up and down the coast. For first-timers, Sydney can feel like a maze of beaches, headlands, bays and coves. The quickest way to find your bearings is to take a trip to the top of Sydney Tower. From over 800 feet up, the observation deck offers 360-degree views of the entire city. Once you've come to grips with the layout of the city, head to Circular Quay, Sydney's version of Grand Central Station. From Circular Quay, you can get just about anywhere by ferry, water taxi or train. Just to the right, like white sails billowing in the breeze, is the Sydney Opera House. You don't need a ticket or tuxedo to explore this incredible performance venue. Whichever way you look, inside or outside, up or down, the Opera House is nothing less than an architectural miracle. Just behind the Opera House, on the site of Sydney's first farm, are the Royal Botanic Gardens and the Sydney Domain. Here you'll find Government House, the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and some of the leafiest views in Sydney. To the left of Circular Quay stands the famous coat hanger, the Sydney Harbour Bridge. One of Sydney's famous sons, Paul Hogan, the star of Crocodile Dundee, was a painter on the bridge before he hit the big time. But you don't need to work on the bridge to enjoy the views from the top. Simply strap on a safety harness and join a bridge climb tour. Just across the bridge at Luna Park, you'll find Sydney's most famous smile. The rides are a little on the vintage side, but the locals wouldn't have it any other way. This heritage-listed fun park has been thrilling Aussie families since 1935. Just a short ferry ride from Luna Park is Darling Harbour, one of Sydney's urban renewal triumphs. Once the site of rusting railway yards, Darling Harbour is now home to the National Maritime Museum and popular parks, bars and restaurants. Only a few blocks away, you'll find the Powerhouse Museum, a celebration of steam, space and science. A short walk across the Pyrmont Bridge is the Sydney Sea Life Aquarium, where you'll experience many of Australia's maritime environments, from the Great Barrier Reef to the rugged South Coast. Australia has a reputation as a land of creatures that bite, sting and can even rip off your whole arm. At the Wildlife Sydney Nature Park, say g'day to some of the world's deadliest creatures, as well as some of Australia's most cuddly. But for the zoo with the view, hop back on the ferry and cruise over to Taronga Zoo. Ride the cable car to the top of the hill and follow the paths back down, past some of the happiest and most relaxed looking creatures you'll ever see. And who wouldn't be with views like this? When it's time to cool off, grab your towel and head to Bondi Beach. You haven't experienced Sydney until you've felt Bondi's golden sand between your toes. The beach is patrolled year-round by bronzed Aussie lifesavers, but always remember to swim between the flags. Another famous seaside suburb not to be missed is Manly. The 30-minute ferry ride from Circular Quay to Manly Wharf is all part of the adventure. Go for a dip in the gentle harbourside waters of Manly Cove, or head through the historic Corso to Manly Beach. If you've never tried surfing, pack your board shorts. This is the place to learn. Feeling energetic? Hike the coastal paths and bush tracks to North Head for some incredible views back to the city. So, you've climbed the bridge, tackled some Bondi waves and wrangled the wildlife. No doubt you're feeling a little thirsty. Time to partake in one of the great Sydney traditions. Join the locals by the water, raise your ice-cold beer and make a toast to paradise.
There are cities that are more than just bricks and mortar. Cities built on ideals. Cities shaped by a belief that the human experience can be greater tomorrow than it is today. Edinburgh is one of those places. Graced with over 4,500 heritage-listed buildings, the Scottish capital is one of the world's most beautiful cities. Edinburgh's Old Town, with its Royal Mile, is filled with the ghosts of medieval merchants, body snatchers and poets, while its Georgian-style New Town still shines with the glories of the Scottish Enlightenment. Edinburgh is studded with lofty crags and spectacular gardens, and throughout the year hosts parties and festivals like no other. To see Edinburgh in all her glory, walk, ride, or even climb to Arthur's Seat, the highest of the city's 7 peaks. Some historians believe that this peak was the site of King Arthur's legendary castle, Camelot, which is hardly surprising as Edinburgh has been at the clashing crossroads of history for millennia. Nearby, on another volcanic crag, rise the battlements of Edinburgh Castle, the very symbol of Scotland itself. Over the last 11 centuries, this castle has been laid siege to 26 times as opposing clans, kings, and countries battled with broadsword and cannon. But still it stands, a testimony to the indomitable spirit of the Scots. Edinburgh has a special place in the hearts of today's monarchy. The last of a long line of royal yachts, Her Majesty's yacht Britannia sailed over 1 million miles before she was decommissioned in 1997. Today, she's permanently moored at Ocean Terminal, a symbol of the royal family's affection for Scotland and the people of Edinburgh. Edinburgh has been the jewel in the crown of chieftains and royals for centuries. But it's also a place where old-world chivalry continues today. Beneath the crown spire of St Giles Cathedral is Thistle Chapel, which honours the 16 living knights and ladies of Scotland's oldest order, as well as those who came before. It's not just the brave and chivalrous who are celebrated in Edinburgh. This is a city that has given the world some of its best-loved writers and stories. In Princes Street Gardens rises the world's largest monument to a writer, dedicated to Sir Walter Scott, who penned epics such as Ivanhoe and Rob Roy. Nearby, at the Writers' Museum, learn more about Scott and 2 more of Scotland's most cherished literary adventurers, Robert Burns and Robert Louis Stevenson. Edinburgh continues to cast their spell over contemporary writers too. J.K. Rowling wrote the first two of her Harry Potter series in cosy old-town nooks, such as the Elephant House Cafe. But history and literature aside, perhaps the greatest gifts that Edinburgh has given humankind is in the field of knowledge, which once earned the city the title the Athens of the North. For over 4 centuries, the University of Edinburgh has given us intellectual giants such as Charles Darwin, David Hume and Alexander Bell. Explore centuries of innovation at the Scottish Museum. Or head to South Queensferry to see the Forth Bridge, an engineering marvel when it opened in 1890, and one which still takes the breath away today. Knowledge and beauty go hand in hand at the Royal Botanic Gardens too. Established in 1670, this is one of the world's oldest and most important centres of botanical science. Yet it's a place which invites even the most harried heart to slow down and swoon. Beauty is honoured at every turn in Edinburgh, whether it be the elegant interiors of the Georgian House, the priceless treasures within the Scottish National Gallery, or the simple flower boxes which adorn the city's pubs. Edinburgh is a city that has given the world countless gifts, but perhaps her greatest is this. She shows us that all parts of the human experience, the sciences and the arts, the past and the present, the sacred and the light-hearted, all have equal value. And that when brought together, these things can create a beauty, a state of mind, a city like no other.